Well, we're at 12. We're at 12, and we like to start and we'll finish exactly on 1. So welcome to our Zoom at noon, where we talk to extraordinary entrepreneurs, family business leaders, and others. And so we have Robin Wilson, who've become a good friend, somebody that really is a legitimate celebrity breaking new ground with global designs we're going to hear about. But first, I'm the executive director of the Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Fairleigh Dickinson University. And so our focuses are on a lot of different things, but focused on family business entrepreneurship, veteran entrepreneurship, urban entrepreneurship, student entrepreneurship, and really trying to be a voice of entrepreneurship globally as a way to reduce poverty, to improve other things. And so we have an extraordinary entrepreneur. And Robin, before we get into some of the great, actually record-breaking things you're doing now, talk about your background, where you grew up, and because that's such an important part of your story. And so where did you grow up, and how did you get into this idea of fashion and design and beauty?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's so funny. Everyone has an origin story. And if you really understand your origin story, I think that can translate into your business and also into your connections with other people, because
Absolutely.
We all share a fabric, a start somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I love Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, because One of the things he says in that book is it takes about 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. Mm-hmm. So my expertise began as a child, as an allergic child, which means you're allergic to everything from pollen, animal dander, certain foods. And imagine that beginning, I'll call it the kid with the Kleenex moment, mm-hmm. right? And then my parents, luckily, because I was born in Austin, Texas, there was a holistic or hippie community in the area. And so my parents had the regular pediatrician, and then someone told them to go to this hippie or holistic pediatrician. And that pediatrician said, you can raise a strong child, or you can raise a child on strong medicine. Well, that's an easy choice for my mom. My mom, probably people thought she was crazy in the 70s, but gosh, the pet went outside, smokers had to be outside, your shoes had to come off at the front door. She was a cleaning machine, not with the fake pine forest smells, right, but the old-fashioned vinegar, taking care of the indoor air quality, getting rid of the shag carpet. We went to hardwood floors, all those things that we see today. But in 1970, my mother was a loony bird, right? People are like, whatever. So then you fast forward that into, where was Whole Foods founded? Austin. So imagine the confluence of events that put me on a path toward wellness, toward eco-consciousness. Why? Because I happened to do a high school internship at the Lower Colorado River Authority, where I learned about peak demand. If you have your air conditioner on every light on in your house. I learned about hydroelectric utility versus coal utility. So there's the environmental part. And my first boss for my high school internship actually helped create the Energy Star program, which is Jerry Lawson, which is the program that talks about appliance efficiency and things of that nature. So this becomes part of my lexicon before I'm even 20 years old. Awareness about your health, awareness about your global ecosystem. And then the last bit is the business part. Well, as you know, I was a runway model from 14 to 21, but the reason for that was not, I don't think, because I was the most beautiful girl in the room, but because I was one of the skinniest girls in the room. That's all changed since COVID. As I told everyone, I've had one too many cookies with my daughter. But back then I weighed like 112 pounds and I was 5'10". And so I was a runway model. So imagine learning the poise that it takes to be in front of a camera when you're walking for Neiman Marcus or Chanel, and having that ability to sit up straight, walk into a room, make eye contact. Those are all part of that origin story.
But Robin, see, that's part of then. So we sit behind. So my book, Intelligent Influence, talks about those influences. And I just love, you've got to be in touch with why you do what you do and what influenced you to do that, because we're an empty cup. So I
Yep.
love hearing that story, and it just makes so much sense as to what you're doing now. All right, so take us from there. You were doing that, of being a model and other things.
Yep.
So where did you go from there?
So then I joined, I got a National Merit Scholarship, which is if I think you're in the 98th percent of the
Yeah,
PSAT or something.
yeah.
And I went to the University of Texas at Austin. I was recruited to work for Mercer Management Consulting in Boston. Then fast forward all the way, I'll skip a couple of years.
So now because I worked for Deloitte after Wharton for Deloitte consult, and that aspect of consulting, you learn how to analyze problems.
Yes.
Much of what I do today is really looking at solving problems, and it came from Deloitte. It wasn't from Princeton and Wharton. And so that Mercer experience really plays another role in building who Robin Wilson is.
That's right. And then I fast forward to, this is the funny part. This was the last corporate job I held. That was about 21 years ago. I was at Heidrick and Struggles, the executive search firm, and they did an IPO. Now, I'm from such a humble background. I remember asking my parents, you know, they're going to do some IPO and my boss wants me to sign all these papers. My mom's like, maybe that's like a new health plan or something. So anyway, the deadline day is about to pass. And my boss comes in.
But for those that don't know, it's an initial public offering. And so it's becoming, offering stock. And so.
Exactly. So one day, let's say Monday, you have $5 in your bank account, and the next day you have stock options or stock worth a lot of money.
Right.
And so I had no clue. But the deadline day is about to pass. My boss was like, sign the paperwork. I'm like, I've got a good health plan. He's like, oh gosh. So anyway, I signed the paperwork. All of a sudden, there's that windfall moment where a lot of people would have spent it. I went to a mentor, and I went to someone I had recruited into a job who happened to be a chief economist. His name was John Lipsky. You've heard of John Lipsky. He ultimately ran the IMF. He became the chief economist at Chase. So I called him and I said, and he's like, hey kid, come over. And he talked to me about, in a consulting environment, the talent gets on the elevator at night and they walk out the door. He said, at some point that stock is going to go down because the big earners, the big connectors, they're going to retire. They're going to take the value of that stock. He said, what do you want to do? And I think everyone should ask themselves that question. What would you do if you knew you had enough money to live the same or better lifestyle, but you could passionately involve yourself in your job every day? So I looked at him, I was like, no one's ever asked me that before. He said, no, but really think about it. And this again dates me. He said, when you open the newspaper, what section do you pull out? I was like, the real estate section. He's like, why? I said, because my grandfather had real estate. My parents have real estate. I grew up watching houses being painted, and I love the three-dimensionality of real estate.
Right.
He said, then you need to do something in real estate. So he said, NYU has a real estate finance program and Columbia has a real estate finance program. Here are the differences. Which one do you choose? I said, I want to do NYU because at the end, you're supposed to actually buy a building and do a project. And he said, let me make a phone call. Do you have your GREs? I was like, yeah. He said, made a phone call. And again, this is how mentors can change your life. And there's a difference between a mentor and a sponsor. And everyone needs to understand that. A mentor talks to you and gives you good advice. A sponsor will pick up that phone and advocate for you to get to your next place.
Yes.
That is a special person in your life. They might only do one favor for you, but you need to make sure that you represent when you get that opportunity, because they will never make that phone call again if you go in there and get critical of the opportunity.
And for those here on the call, no matter where you are, there's that mentor. Just my favorite consulting mentor story is there's a gentleman who was one of the first Black consultants, and there was this consultant who went to Penn, was working at Bain, and his name was John Legend. And he pushed him. He said, you shouldn't be doing consulting. You should be doing music. So his mentor really did exactly what your mentor did and really sent him on this path to be a legend. So John Legend, and people don't know, he was in consulting.
He worked at Bain.
Ivy League grad. He worked at Bain, yes. And so he's a brilliant guy. So again, find that mentor and someone who you can trust, who has your best interest. And so, all right, so we have that story. Continue on, because it's really just fascinating.
So at the end of the day, this person opened the door for me to realize that if I wanted to do real estate, I needed to understand the pros, the cons, the construction part, the development part. And so guess what? Here we are years later. When I got my degree, I experienced what they call fiscal inequality today. What it really means is you walk into a bank as a woman, maybe as a person of color, maybe if you have a disability, and the banker says, well, and then someone else walks in and they get the loan for the same project, but just because they have a different package or because they might know someone. So I experienced fiscal inequality, and this is going to boggle your mind. I had an opportunity to buy a 36-unit building in Harlem on 138th Street West Side, where Columbia has now done what it's done. And that building was $1 million. I needed $1 million, or the down payment for $1 million project to do. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. And today, each unit in that condo, it's been someone got the money, of course, and each unit is selling for $600,000 or $700,000. So you can imagine that moment of just like, oh. So again, go to a mentor. That mentor was a professor at NYU, and we're still in touch. He's in his 80s now, and he said, stop fighting this. It is what it is. You're not a white male. You're not from New York. You are a Black woman trying to do something, and you are one of 2 women in the NYU real estate program. So stop fighting it. Let's talk about your strengths. He's like, you have a great Rolodex. You worked at Heidrick. You're really nice, but you're really businesslike. He said, why don't you become the busy homeowner's best friend as a project manager? And I was like, huh? And he said, think about it. If someone has a house in Aspen, in the Hamptons, in New York City, they need someone to sort of make it all happen. So in the winter, you will be in the Hamptons. In the summer, you're going to be in Aspen. And you're going to be making their house perfect for them for each season that they go to their residence. He said, that's a rarefied world. And guess what? The husband doesn't necessarily want his wife to be talking to the contractor guy. So you are the in-between person. I was like, okay, well, that business in the first year, I was the employee. We made 1.2 million in profit because we got 15% of each project. We also, if we procured things, we got a procurement fee for furniture and things like that. So that was back in 2000.
Wow.
Okay. So now you fast forward to by 2005 or 6, I've done some really creative projects, and Oprah's people find me. Now, this is about branding to everyone out there. When you're afraid, you put your company, you create a name that nobody will associate with you because you're afraid of failing, right? But Oprah's people don't tolerate that. They're like, I named my company, and you'll forget about this in 5 minutes, WSG Consulting, which stood for Wilson Services Group. So I remember when this reporter called and they were like, why did you name it that? And I was like, well, if I fail, nobody will know. They're like, we've got a great story here, but you got to put your name in it. So I remember going to GoDaddy.com, typing my name in, and back then they gave you few options or whatever, and Robin Wilson Home popped up. I took it. By the next day, I stayed up till 2 a.m. and redid my website and everything. The next day, the reporter called and said, so are we going to run the story? What did you decide? I was like, go to robinwilsonhome.com.
Love it. See, that's the entrepreneurial spirit where you were, the opportunities come, but you've got to be ready for it. And so they were doing a story for the magazine, or what were they doing?
Yes.
For Oprah's magazine.
Yep. I think I've been in her magazine 5 times, and I was in her big book of happiness, which is somewhere up there on the bookcase. And, but the bottom line is, they work with people who are ready to go to yes. So you cannot expect an opportunity to come and you're sort of on the fence.
Right.
You have to
Right.
get to yes. And that means if an opportunity comes your way, as they say, proper preparation,
Right.
be prepared. And when people say, "Oh, well, she's an overnight success,"
No such thing.
It's doing good work. It's being recognized for your work, and more importantly, being ready to admit that what you don't know.
Right.
I
Right. Well,
think that's the real
preparation meets
success.
opportunity, right? Where
Yeah.
preparation meets opportunity. Now, Andy, our friend Andy Wayne corrected me. So John Legend was at Boston Consulting Group, BCG,
Okay.
not Bain. So
Okay.
which is actually even more
They're
prestigious.
they're
Back then, it
still
was
one
more
and the
prestigious.
same.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even more prestigious actually. But all right. So again, so the Oprah and the article. What did they talk about in the article in the Oprah magazine?
Well, it's so funny. If you go to my website, robinwilsonhome.com, you'll
Mhm.
see all the press. So it's
Right.
there.
Right.
What I will say is, this is now, okay, so that was in 2000, 2005. I changed the name of the company. By 2008, we're actually negotiating a deal to be the first woman to have a branded cabinetry line, which
Wow.
ultimately sold $82 million wholesale. And as you know,
Really?
when you license your brand, you only get a percentage of that, but
Right.
it
Right.
did very well.
Where did you sell it through? What
There,
retail chain?
there were 400 independent kitchen dealers selling my
Okay.
brand, which is
Really?
just
Wow.
beyond exciting.
That is,
And
yeah.
then by 2009, I'm negotiating our textile licensing deal, and that was ultimately a Bed Bath Beyond.
Okay.
So I'm going to now fast forward to 2020.
Mhm.
2020, I'm ready to quit. I'm like,
Mhm.
I've worked so hard. I've never gotten the VC funding. Again, fiscal inequality. Women only get 2% of VC funding,
Yeah, it's
and
incredible.
women of color only get 0.48% of
Wow.
all the venture capital funding. So I'm like,
Wow.
I'm done. I've worked too hard. I can't resave my retirement plan. Life has happened. Some various other things have happened. I'm like, I'm just going to get a job. So I start polishing off my resume, and then I'll call it the George Floyd and the say their names moments happen.
Right. Right. Right.
And in 2020, we made a list of the top 10 Black businesses to support. So what happened was, let's say you're sitting at your coffee table, and then all of a sudden your phone starts blinging because
Mm.
orders are coming in. Orders
Wow.
are coming in. And my business went up by 3,000% day over day in a 2-week period. And I was like,
Was this the cabinetry or what business? What were you selling?
this was stuff on Amazon, like my Amazon store,
Oh, really?
trays, candles, little tchotchke things,
All under Robin Wilson Home.
all under Robin Wilson Home.
Wow. Wow.
But my book also started selling again. Clean
Mm.
Design, Wellness for Your Lifestyle. Why?
Okay.
Because at the same time the say their name moment is happening,
Mhm.
we've got a global pandemic and
Right.
lockdown.
Right.
And so I said, gosh, it's been really hard with Robin Wilson Home. Maybe let me go back to a name that works, Clean Design Home.
Mm.
It was available on GoDaddy. So I
Wow.
bought it. And I immediately trademarked it. I art marked it because I created this unique logo that you see.
Yep. Yep.
And within 2 weeks, I'll call it the easy button happened.
Uh-huh.
We got a call from a hotel group. They said in 50 years, we'd never hired a Black designer and they'd never procured anything from a Black owned business. Would I be able to? And they gave me this crazy order. I was like,
Mhm.
yes, I can fulfill that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I called my old licensing partner as that contract was about to end. We were just, leaving Bed Bath Beyond. And I said, could you fulfill this? He said, oh, that's a small order. So I was like, small order? So I called another company and they said, yes, we'd love to. That's a big order for us.
Mm.
So I want every entrepreneur to understand the real situation. They might be a small company to some people, but
Right.
they might be a big company to others.
It's all
This
relative.
other, yep, this other company signed a licensing deal under my new name, Clean Design Home. And Ellen launched us at the end of 2020. We got into Macy's where
So when you say Ellen launched it, what happened? What happened there?
we did a giveaway for first responders. We gave them weighted blankets, which if people have PTSD
Right.
or they have trouble sleeping, it's a weighted blankets, just really calm your body down at night.
That was one
And
of the
so my new
giveaways, the free
licensing
giveaways?
partner,
One
yeah,
of the free giveaways to the audience for,
so 250 people in the audience got
wow.
weighted
How did you get
blankets.
that? How did you get that? You know, for those,
Well, the first order from the hotel was 56 pallets. That's forklift pallets.
yeah,
56, that's a semi-trailer and a half.
yeah.
56 pallets for the hotel. That
Wow,
was the first order. 2 weeks later, they made their second order, 36 pallets. That's
wow,
one semi-truck. So you could just imagine the numbers. I can't even tell you. I wouldn't
wow.
want to breach their confidentiality, but it
That's
was a
good.
significant order for me.
Mhm.
And with that, that was the trademark. That was the moment when I was like, Clean Design Home is the right brand. I don't need to have my name in it. I've already built the platform.
Right,
I
right.
am the expert in hypoallergenic, eco-friendly, anti-allergen solutions
Mm,
for someone's home. I now need to do the next pivot. And the next pivot is creating a brand that resonates with the consumer.
mhm.
What is everyone talking about during a pandemic? Clean,
Clean.
well-designed backdrops for your Zoom because
Right.
you're remote learning and remote working, and home. You might be trapped at home, so get rid of those shoddy, sofas and things, and make your home a home.
Mhm.
So Clean Design Home resonated with the consumer, and now the pivot is how do we get sold
Right.
or how do we get funded?
Yep.
And so I left my name. I had my name in it.
Right.
Now it's time to leave my name to go be sold.
Right.
And that's the ultimate goal. And by the way, y'all are first to know on this call. Today is
Mhm.
the launch of our brand extension. We have everything at Macy's for the sleep, and the bath. But guess what? Our sleep store is confirmed today, the launch of our mattress line. So if you go to
Wow.
cleandesignhome.com and
Wow.
click shop, you can buy a
You
mattress.
can buy, so you can sell mattresses. So cleandesignhome.com. Everybody go there, and then
Push
you
the
can get
shop button.
mattresses, and here you have the entrepreneur behind that.
And
That's
I'm
pretty
launching
cool.
it today.
And
So that
today,
was
so
in
you can be
honor
the
of you,
first.
Dale.
You can be the first. So this is we're breaking new ground on
And it
this.
ships direct to your home. And these are, I guess, I don't want to call out one of my competitors, but the ones, the big box, and
Right.
then
Right.
you open it and it goes. So ours are different because they're not just foam. Ours actually have coils in them so they can
Okay.
protect your posture.
But they come in the box. They come in the
Yep.
box and then come out.
It's a
Wow.
patented system.
That is pretty. That's very cool.
Yep.
That's very, very cool. So that's a first on one of our Zoom at noon. So this is real live, real live product release. So all right. So you're doing this stuff. So the Clean Design Home is now we had talked. I had you on my other show, and you were talking about Amazon, working with Amazon, and what advice do you have for entrepreneurs around working with Amazon or not working with Amazon? What do you say?
Well, I was selected for, or a company was selected for an incubator. And
Mhm.
in fact, Amazon just announced one yesterday. I think applications are due in sometime in June.
Okay.
If you're a person of color or woman, and you can actually apply, and then they have an incubator that helps you upload into the system. You get a branded store. There's all sorts of wonderful things. So Google Amazon incubator. But we were selected, and now we have a branded store called amazon.com/clean design home.
Okay.
And so right now we have everything from salt shakers to laundry baskets, things that you want tomorrow,
Mhm.
and that can just arrive at your home through Amazon Prime.
So if people want to, because again, I'm really kind of obsessed about supporting small businesses, family businesses. So if you go, how do you find this on Amazon? So if I say I want to support not just you, but small businesses or even businesses of color, how do
Yes.
you navigate Amazon to get to that?
I think, and I'm not sure, I
Mhm.
think there is a way to say that there's like a search button. And I think you
Right.
just say small business or
Oh, really?
diverse or
Okay.
women-owned business or
Okay.
something like that, and it takes you there. But I've never been asked that question before, so I'm not so sure.
No, that's
But
okay. And we'll play with it. And so, but that's one of the things that I'm really encouraging everybody. Go out of your way to find independently owned local businesses,
yes,
and
one of the thing a lot of people don't realize is a lot of companies don't have the money to warehouse their things
right.
and to run their business.
Mhm.
So, and they don't want to be on call 24 hours a day. So
Right.
many small businesses, I'm urging them to find a way to work with Amazon, especially through the incubator program, because for 1 year, they let you have free storage.
Wow.
So you could send all your inventory there. It takes a minute to learn how to upload everything, but literally consumers get Amazon Prime then.
Wow.
And so I put up, I believe, 30 salt shaker grinders. We
Right.
have one left. We did that a
Wow.
week and a half ago.
Wow.
And so our margins on that are significant,
Mhm.
because I'm able to buy it wholesale at great quantity. But
Right.
I tell you, as a company, you can scale through Amazon. Be aware though that you don't price it too low,
Mhm.
because there are costs associated with returns
Right. Right.
and things of that nature.
Excellent. And so now, did you, one of the things that since we last talked, Robin, we now have a small business development center as part of Rothman. And so, which provides free consulting for, and we always like to give plugs for those of you that have a business, you're looking for free consulting in the Northwest part of the state. Did you ever use an SBDC or a consultant, or how did you like even what you just said about your pricing? I mean, it's not intuitive to think about returns. So you put a price and
Yes.
say, okay, my margin's 15%, but not, how did you learn the hard way, or how did you learn about all this, those
I
nuances?
learned the hard way. That's the
Mhm,
first thing.
mhm.
And the second thing is when you are part of these incubators, they actually give you free webinars.
Okay.
And they also have a person assigned to you. And so that person once a week for about 10 weeks would say, okay, so you sold this, but you got this in return, or here's how to make your content better so that people, when they search for you, they'll find you. So it
Wow.
was it was very hands-on. I would do a Tuesday night um, conference call from
Mhm,
like 6:30 to 7:30 at night,
mhm.
because they were on in Seattle,
Right.
and we would just go through everything. And he would say, okay, next week we're going to focus on how to upload your content. Okay, next week we're going to focus on how to do coupons and on and on. And so by the end of that, if you took good notes, you sort of know how to run your own store. At some point, you scale that though, and you hire someone who's a consultant who can run your store for you.
See, and part of the reason I'm so encouraged. So when I was at Princeton, this guy named Jeff Bezos was at Princeton at the same time, and so Jeff Bezos founded Amazon.
Did he give
And
you founder stock?
no, 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 but I know I didn't know him then, but I know some people that actually worked with him there. But again, I mean, this guy is not any. In fact, he probably didn't have the chutzpah you have to do things, because things came a little easier. His parents gave him $300,000 to start and do this stuff. And so the message is that so often we look at these people as icons, that they're really not that much more than anybody on this Zoom call. But there's chutzpah, there's focus. You get into something, and which is why I like the origin story, because you were passionate about it. You don't get into it, okay, let me pick an industry where I'm going to make $1 billion. I've never seen that work. You say,
Right.
let me solve a problem. Let me solve a problem. Oh, by the way, my people like my solution, so I'm going to make $1 billion. And so
Right.
that's what I like about your story. And you're so modest. I mean, you really have understated. I mean, just imagine that today you're releasing, you're selling your own mattresses. I mean, do you ever pinch yourself to say, this is pretty cool? I'm like, people are buying stuff that I created.
It's funny. I remember I told you when I had Thanksgiving dinner at Maya Angelou's house a couple of years
Mhm.
ago, and
See, she
she
just
sat me
dropped this
down
thing.
and
Well, I didn't. I lost my invitation to Maya Angelou's house, so I couldn't get there. But you mentioned
well, I,
these
I
things.
was I was dating someone at the time who got the invitation and said, "Did I want to tag along?" I was like, "Of course."
Of
And
course.
so that person was so gracious to let me go with him. And so I remember Maya sitting me down, and Cecily Tyson's there, and Oprah and Gail, and I'm like,
There's a
why
typical
am I
party.
here?
Typical,
And
everybody, typical party.
I want to tell everyone, if you're invited, you're a guest. You're meant to be there. Don't go to that
Right.
insecure place
Right.
because you have a seat at that table.
Yeah.
Immerse yourself into that moment. So Maya sat me down. I was at her feet. I actually didn't even feel honored. I couldn't sit next to her. I was like, let me just sit at her feet. And with that voice, she goes, child. And she said, you will, I'm sorry, but she said, you will help people. That is why you're doing what you're doing. You will help people with allergies and asthma. And that is what you're doing. That is your job. It is not the money. It is not the adulation. It is helping people.
Yes.
So you step back today and you say, 60 million Americans suffer from asthma and allergies. That's 1 in 5 people. That means someone you know is wheezing, sneezing, going to the hospital with the asthma attack. And it's caused by triggers, whether it's dander, smoke, pollen, or that big culprit we all forget, your pillow.
Right.
Like when you ask people, when was the last time you washed or replaced your pillow? You should be grimacing right now. Most people say 6 years.
Wow.
That's like dander, drool, whatever else could be on your pillow, animal hair, and you're breathing that in when you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. So when I tell people that, they say, oh my gosh, I'm going to go buy your pillow. That's number one. But the second thing I say is, if you aren't going to go buy a pillow, think about when you go on vacation to a hotel and you come back, you look so rested. There's no dark circles under your eyes. Everybody's like, and you're like, but I slept the same number of hours I sleep at home. But the difference is that hotel replaced its pillow or they washed the pillow. And so you came back home and slept back on your dirty old pillow and you got the circles under your eyes and the wheezing and sneezing again. Wow. So it may not be the vacation. Maybe you need a staycation to get your sleep space into a healthy place.
That is such a great, because you never think of your pillow. I mean, you think, okay, the mattress. And so now, and so I had asthma. I almost died twice from asthma. So, but it was mostly pollen. And so, so many of us, and I think the air quality has just gone way down to begin with, but that's a whole other discussion. But so now let's do our shameless plug. So you sell pillows. What kinds of pillows do you sell? I mean, what different kinds
alternative
of pillows? And I want everybody to buy a pillow. If you've had your pillow for more than a year and a half, everybody on this call needs to go online to Clean Home Design and buy a pillow.
Yep. So when you go to Macy's and you go to Clean Design Home, you'll see we have pillows, comforters, robes. I've got right here a pillow protector set. It comes with the mattress cover. On the back, it has my name and tells you all the good things it does. But Dale, I have to send you some, right? Yeah, so what do you have, king or queen for your bed?
I have a king.
Okay. So you'll be getting something at the school.
And I'll be buying some stuff for you, and I'll be getting other people to do that. I mean, it's just, we get so used to this disconnect from, I remember when I was young, and when my daughter was young, and we went to a family business. And I remember walking out, she must've been 6 or 7, she said, they were really, really nice. Because you're so used to, it's so rare that people really treat you. And we've got to, in this country, we've got to move away from this. So even if you're online, you can really support nice people in growing the business. We got to stop this corporate quarterly reporting. Just another, it really annoys me that people talk about Netflix. I have Peloton, that they're struggling. And the problem is they're not struggling, is that during the pandemic, their quarterly revenue was so much higher than it is now. So they say they're struggling, but they're still making billions of dollars. And so we're in this mindset, and people don't realize this quarterly reporting of big companies is really impacting the quality of what we get as average consumers. So that's why I'm so passionate about people like you and others that are really doing this. And we've got to be more aggressive at supporting those businesses.
Right. I think every entrepreneur runs into what I call the cash flow moment, where you need to get your brand exposed through whatever means, whether it's billboards, digital, or the old-fashioned newspaper. But you don't have the cash to do it.
Right.
And you need to have other people be your ambassador.
Mhm.
And so, as I mentioned to you, Dale, we have like 8 days left on our crowdfund through republic.co or .com. We have 8 days left, and we have raised close to $90,000 a few
So talk a
months.
little more about that. Talk about the
Okay.
crowdfunding. Yeah.
Oh, crowdfunding through Republic and some of these other platforms
Mhm.
requires you to be audited. It
Mhm.
requires you to provide your cap table, your board is reviewed, your background is reviewed. It's
Mhm.
basically an SEC form that has to be completed. So you're actually SEC approved
Right.
up to a $5 million raise on a crowd
Mhm.
fund.
Mhm.
The issue, however, for many people is they don't even have the money to do the CPA audits and the attorney
Right.
reviews and all that other stuff just to get on the platform,
Mhm.
which is also very selective. So I
Mhm.
believe Republic selects 1 out of every 50 companies that apply.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so when you go through that process and you are now raising money, and you, let's say your minimum is for success is $25,000, and then you raise more than that, you have actually accomplished something that most people I guess Obama actually signed this into law, that it went from $1 million to a $5 million fundraise possibility.
Oh, wow.
You
Wow.
you've actually committed
Mhm.
with penalties of perjury that your money will go toward your business. You've actually allocated that in your pitch document.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, because we are SEC certified, I can't really talk about it other than to say, look at the pitch document. It's
Yes.
got all the detail in there about what we're going to do with the money. But I tell people now, if you're a small business and you need that extra jolt of caffeine,
Mhm.
consider crowdfunding. I
Yeah.
think it was not viewed positively a couple of years ago, but I mean, Sugarfina, which is one of the great little candy stores, they raised several $1 million by crowdfunding.
Really? Wow. 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 In fact, I was just at the Mall of America with my daughter, and so we went by Sugarfina, I think, a store there. And so, yeah, but there's some you've forgotten, probably more than a lot of new entrepreneurs don't know. And so as you giving advice to folks, and you think back, I mean, what are some of the things that you know now that you wish you knew when you were just coming out? I'm sure there are a lot of
Oh
things, but
my
what are
goodness.
like 2 or 3 things?
Number one, this is a mantra I have and in fact, as you know, I did one adjunct semester at FDU in
Yep.
the entrepreneur program and taught the students about branding, and it was phenomenal. But I would like to say $1.23.
Mhm.
What's the saying? Hold on. Oh, ABC or 1, 2, 3.
Uh-huh.
So you need a great accountant or a
Mhm.
great attorney to make sure
Mhm.
your contracts are sound.
Yep.
You need a great bookkeeper to make sure your cash flow is organized and your taxes are paid.
Mhm.
And C, you need cash flow,
Yep.
or you're going to go down to your last $1.23.
Mm.
That's
Interesting.
that's the one thing. Keep in your mind.
Yeah.
ABC or 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's one.
That's
Number
great.
two, if you are getting married, get a prenup.
Mhm.
Just gonna say it.
Right.
I'm
Right.
divorced.
Right.
There could be drama there. Make sure that you protect yourself and your business
Yeah.
that you spent 15 or 20 years building.
Yeah.
Um, that's a that's business.
Yeah.
And number
That's
three, um, make sure if you have children that they are aware of what you do and
mhm.
possibly even involved in what you do. I've talked to so many founders who didn't get their children involved,
Mhm.
even if they're just stamping letters or answering the phone or accompanying you to the UPS store. Their children, by the time it's time for them to inherit the business, they know nothing about the business.
Right.
And so I say, get your children involved, even if it's just marketing. Maybe that's their strength, or holding the camera today if you're doing an Instagram video, and let them see the video they produce. Maybe they'll have an interest one day in being a filmmaker. But I think that's very important.
Well, and again, I have a 17-year-old daughter, and anybody who has kids, it's amazing how little understanding they have about how expensive things are.
Oh,
So, I think everybody should, even give $100 to, if you can, give $100 to your kid and say, okay, we'll let you spend it. And they don't realize how much you're spending on them and so much. And so that exercise is so important because
yes.
the value of money is they don't understand it.
Well, I pay my daughter an allowance through a Go Henry card. I'm sure you've seen those Go Henry ads. It's like you pay her, they have chores, and when they
Right.
complete their chore, they mark that they've completed it. And then at the end of a week, they get their allowance on a credit card.
Oh, really? Oh,
So it's
interesting.
really funny. I We went to a store and I gave her credit card, I was like, because I keep it. I don't want her to just have it and lose it because it's real money. So I gave her little Go Henry card, and I call it kids shopping the mannequin. Like they look at the mannequin, they're like, I want that. And that is always the most expensive thing in the store, right? And I was like, okay, well, this is how much you have to spend. And then she was like, oh, that's expensive. Oh, no, 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 no.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
she goes and she's like, let's go to the sale rack. And then she got what she wanted from the sale rack. And then we went to the bookstore. And I was like, well, here's your Go Henry card. And then she was like, that book's $30. I was like, yeah. She's like,
Exactly.
we'll go to the library. And that awareness of money, if we teach children about the value of money as much as we teach them about fun stuff,
Yes.
money can actually be fun too. It's a very important. It's very important that, like I've told you, and I've told the students that I've taught and my friends, if your kids don't understand money, they could inherit $10 million and be broke a year later.
Easily. Easily. And that's, and that really is for whether you're an entrepreneur or not, but really understanding that and understanding the value of net worth. I used to be a certified financial planner, and
Wow.
that people don't. You can make $1 million a year if you spend $1,001. You're in real trouble. And
Exactly.
so everybody thinks it's income, and so you begin to think about that. So
Yeah.
all right. So I mean, things are going really well. I know you've had some tough times. I know it's
Yes.
been this is not all, and you're good. And I think I have this skill, or maybe it's that I forget the bad things. I remember I take the lessons from the bad things, but I don't dwell on bad things. A lot of people dwell on bad things, and that really is negative. But I know you've had some real tough times.
Oh yeah.
It's gone like this,
Yeah.
but now you're
And
here.
the cyclicality of being an entrepreneur is so prevalent. Nobody talks about it.
Right.
So I call it just being calm. Be calm. When you think you're on the top, you need to stay calm, because
Right.
the next day you might have a down cycle. Think about so many people in 2008 when the market went down and their houses were underwater on the mortgage, and they lost their job, but they had been spending like crazy. So in my business, though, it was bad on the one hand because your high net worth clients sold a house and they weren't doing the Hamptons Aspen thing. But it was good on the other hand because they were renovating in the spaces that they
That they
had.
had. Right.
And so we almost became a recession-proof business from that perspective, because okay, you have 5 homes. Great, you sold one. Okay, but now you want to renovate one of the homes because you didn't get that big bonus. So now
Right.
you just want to put some new drapes and new paint. Okay, we can do that. And so try to find that sweet spot niche as an entrepreneur. My sweet spot niche is, I call it anti-allergen solutions, right? No added VOC chemicals in your case goods or your cabinetry, the low lint towels, so we're not adding lint to your living space, the tightly woven sheets so that bed bugs and stuff can't really penetrate and get on your skin. Now we have mattresses. Those are encased in a certain type of thing. And then, like I showed you earlier, these protectors, it's a protect and prevent solution.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
When you think about the cyclicality of being an entrepreneur, everyone's like, oh, I need to save this much money before I become an entrepreneur, because then, and it's like, you're never going to have enough money.
Right.
Number one.
Right.
Number two, you'll make money, but if you don't have a controller in place to sort of say, this is the best story. I learned about controllers when one year I threw the holiday party for everybody at Tao. So if you've ever been to Tao in New York, the big Buddha, it's really cool, right?
It's not cheap.
And it's not cheap. And so we all showed up. It was great, gifts, whatever. Everybody's going to Paris or London or home or whatever. And guess who I forgot to pay? Me. So I paid all the bills. I thought that you were successful if you went to zero at the end of the year. No, people. Your controller will say, okay, pay 30% of that bill, 40% of that bill, 100% of that bill, and so on and so forth. And then you always pay you.
Right.
Even
right.
if you pay yourself $10, you pay you. And that's where the ABC or 1, 2, 3 came from. Because I went to an ATM and it was like $1.23. That's all I have.
Wow.
So I had to walk home in my cute shoes and my cute little coat. And when I got home, I'm sniffling, it's freezing cold. And I get home and I lived in the city at the time. And I remember, so I lived in the 20s, just so you have reference, and Tao was in the 50s. So that's like 30 blocks
So
home
that was
in cute shoes.
that's a walk.
It was not pretty.
It's a mile and a half.
Exactly. So I walk into my house and the phone rings. It's my mom. And she's like, hey, we didn't know what to get you for Christmas. So we just put $500 in your bank account. Now, there's that minute of going, but that 30 block walk.
Yeah.
I could have said, I quit. This is horrible.
Right.
But what I did in that 30 block walk was recount to myself that I always need to pay myself. That's first. Yeah. Second, I recommitted to, I'm an entrepreneur. And yes, I'm a little scared because I'm on the edge of a cliff here. But now I need to go to the store and buy the brown rice and the tuna and instead of just having condiments in my fridge for the next 2 weeks. Because 2 weeks later, our textile deal came through and I got that big royalty, or what do you call it? They license your brand fee. Right. And so I knew a lot of money was coming my way. But I also knew that that was a moment where the universe, I don't know what you believe in, so I'm just going to say the universe, was like, don't get too caught up in what you've got coming. Make sure you have something for today. Right.
The and again, I also am a pastor of a church, and so I often say that when you're feeling high on your oats, God has a way to kind of humble you, and when you're feeling down, there's a way to. It's amazing how consistently that happens. And people believe in the universe, you believe in God, whatever it is. But it really is when you're at your lowest, all of a sudden things happen. And
it's the law of attraction. It's totally the law of attraction. I mean, I remember there's some personal things that happened in my life, and that person, there was one particular person who said some really awful things. They were going to ruin me. They're going to ruin my brand. They're going to ruin my business. And I call it the bah-ha-ha moment, right? When you really want to laugh about that sentence, is they were throwing rocks. I was planting seeds. Right. So here we are 7 years later. And if one knows the walk of Job in the Bible, that was a tough 7 years. Right. But I planted seeds. Yeah. And now you're seeing the fruit with our being the first Black global luxury textile brand being launched in the UK and Japan and Africa, and now our mattresses and on and on. And that's not it. There's more coming. Right. But that person was throwing rocks, and rocks don't bear anything. It's just a lot of anger, and let them be who they want to be. Exactly. But there will be people also when you're an entrepreneur who, there's a wonderful book that's called The Dream Giver. It's written by a guy named Bruce Wilkinson. And it talks about there are people in your life who are your champions. And there are people in your life who literally want to hold you back because as you move forward, they are still in place. And it makes them recognize that they have not moved forward. Yeah. You need to read that book, The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson, because it will also give you a sense of you will progress and you will be happier. But if you go backwards, you might be sad, and you need to recognize that within yourself. So again, the law of attraction, the dream giver, and remembering this bottom line, whatever you seek to do, it should not be for the money. Right. It should be because you have a passion for it, because you want to get up every day and do something on a forward motion for that. And most importantly, that it makes you happy and it helps people. Every Uber helps people, right? Even though people call it a tech play. Well, no, maybe I couldn't get a cab in my neighborhood. I go on Uber or Lyft and I get a cab.
Right.
Fresh Direct. Maybe I was in a grocery desert. Now I can get groceries anywhere. That's every one of those businesses helps people in some way.
Well, and I think that's a very, very important point is that that one, the positivity. I found that just being positive just attracts people to you. If you're passionate and you're positive about doing something that's going to help people, if you're passionate about making money, hey, we're going to make $1 million on this, that doesn't attract people. You have to pay people to come along, and it doesn't. But if you're really trying to solve a problem, you're really trying to make things different, it's amazing how people will gravitate to you. And
Yes.
and you've been doing that. And the other thing, I love what you're saying about planting seeds, is that so often we are in this society, it's about instant gratification. What's going on today? Instead of saying, well, let me make this. I may have to take a step back, but in 3 years, I'm going to take a big step forward. And just
Right.
going back to Amazon, that people don't realize that Jeff Bezos was beat up and vilified because he didn't want to maximize profits. Had he done profits the way that the advisors wanted, Amazon would not be as big as it is. It would have just been a book company and might have gone out of business. But you take your time, you grow the business, you do that. So those that are dealing with tough times now, invest in your future. And that's what
it could be
such
education,
a great example.
right? It could be education.
Yep.
If you go to school and you take a course on something that you need to learn, and that takes one semester. And then now all of a sudden you learn everything about digital marketing, right? That might be a sideways for you, but it's going to propel you for the next 5 years, and on and on. So, think about apple trees. If you plant an apple seed, it's going to take about 7 years for that tree to be strong enough to bear fruit. Right. If it bore fruit day one, it would be a spindly little tree leaning over with an apple on it. And so all of that water and fertilizer and all the stuff you have to put on that apple tree, you planted a seed, but you need to plant 10 seeds. You need to, really give to you, invest in you, bet on you, and consider always Sue, I just see the note. I'm giving back to domestic violence survivors because I am one. So that's the other thing to share with people. Like, you can have all these credentials and all these great things happening to you, but people don't know sometimes about private violence. So what I'm doing now to give back is I've partnered with Joe Torre of Yankees legend fame. And as you buy our products, we have created an algorithm, sort of like Bombas Socks has done with buy colorful socks. We give black socks, they give black socks to the homeless. We, as you buy our products, we have an algorithm, and we give sheeting products or sets to the Safe House network that Joe Torre has developed. And so imagine a woman or a family fleeing for their lives. Maybe they only have the clothing on their back. They shouldn't be getting giveaway sheets. So we actually give through Project Lilac colored sheets. They're colorful, they're soothing color. It's the color of domestic violence. And these are their sheets to keep for whenever they go to their future home.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is what a wonderful way to give back. And as I said, I mean, I just think when you're looking to support companies, see what they're doing for the community. What are they doing besides the bottom line? And again, that's part of my challenge with some of the big quarterly reporting companies, is that they're not focused on giving back, And so those that are doing so two. I really want to talk a little more about your business, your products before we go, but also how do you remain humble? I mean, the reality is you're doing well. You're making money. You could be, and we see so many people who are just arrogant with the elites and doing this stuff. And so what keeps you grounded?
If I had this success at 20, I might be a different person.
Right.
I'm now 52. So I've gone for 20 years. So at 30, I call it the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And then you go through life, and then you realize that it is not about, as one would say, the fast race.
Right.
It literally is about being the tortoise. And, I had very, very humble working class parents who, as one would say, my grandfather was a sharecropper who picked cotton in Texas.
Wow.
I now sell a luxury cotton product with cotton that it's made of cotton picked in Texas and California called Supima cotton. So if you know, again, your origin story, I remember sitting in my grandpapa's arms, and his arms were massive. I mean, he worked on the railroad, building the railroad, probably a 6th grade education. His father would have been a slave, so you just say, but for the grace of God go I, right? And they gave to me and my brother a sense of education and focus. And I have cousins who now, they've worked in government jobs, or and all they do is say, you are fulfilling this opportunity that so many from prior generations believed could be possible, but they didn't know how it would be possible. So any of you, if your family's an immigrant family, if your family is a military family and you have achieved something in corporate America, their belief and dreams in you're fulfilling that. Yes. And by the way, what I'm doing today might be nothing compared to what my daughter and her future children do, So I just say that when I teach students or when I speak to audiences, at the end of the day, everyone in that audience has a dream. Some people got sidelined, but everyone has a dream. And if you take the minute to ask them, what is your dream? That person could say, well, I work in construction right now, but I always wanted to be a nurse. Right. Well, you know what? What if you knew somebody and you said, could they go to your program at night after their construction job? And they're like, yeah, they could enroll tomorrow. And in 5 years, that person's a nurse. Right. As the universe works, that person could end up being the nurse for you if you ever get sick.
Exactly. See, and that's just beautiful. So your website again, how do people find your products?
Well, I tell people to go to our holding company now, because then you can see everything. Okay. So go to ablueegg.com and you'll see the holding company with all the divisions and everything that we do. And you'll learn a lot about our company and our philosophy and what we're doing also with Project Lilac to help domestic violence survivors.
So ablueegg.com.
Yes.
And so, well, Robin, I mean, you are just an extraordinary human being. I mean, there's so much to your story. We talked about some of it, but there are other things. And I know your interaction with celebrities and other things, but you're doing wonderful work. You're helping people. And I encourage each of you, when you're looking to buy stuff for your home, for your bedroom, for other things, really, really check her products out. Really check her products out.
Thank you, Dale. So, I'll send you some pillows for that advertisement.
Okay, all right, we'll do that, and we'll share those. And so, but that advice about what about mattresses before we go? So pillowcases, how long should you keep your mattress?
Most people keep their mattress for about 15 to 20 years. Okay. If you do keep it that long, I hope that you've encased it. And typically it's a zippered encasement, or so it's an encasement. I call it the 3 layers of protection. You have the encasement, then you have your fitted sheet, then you have your actual flat sheet, and then you have your top of bed items. Okay. So if you can do that, you'll protect yourself, because mattresses actually end up weighing more than the day you bought them, just like pillows. Okay. And a simple test for your pillows is fold it. Right. If it bounces back right away, then it's okay. If you fold it and it stays in place, you need to replace your pillow.
It's time for, well, again, Robin, just thank you so much. And we'll have to do this again. I want to thank everybody for watching our Zoom at noon. Have a wonderful weekend and good luck. Make sure you buy some of the products. Take care.
All right, cleandesignhome.com at Macy's.
Cleandesignhome.com at Macy's. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Again, thanks.